Imagine two colleagues, leaving the exact same office, building on their final day of work. They both spent 40 years climbing the corporate ladder, maxing out their 401ks, doing everything by the book. They both have exactly $3 million sitting in their accounts. But tonight, one of them is sleeping peacefully on a first-class flight to Japan, completely detached from the financial news. The other is sitting in the dark at 3 in the morning, bathed in the blue light of a laptop screen. They are frantically adding and subtracting numbers on a crumpled piece of paper, terrified, because the market dropped a fraction of a percent before closing. They both reached the exact same summit, but only one of them is actually free. If you are the person staring at the screen in the middle of the night, feeling a knot in your stomach every time you think about spending $1, I need you to listen to me. You are not financially illiterate. You are not lacking discipline. Why? You are simply trapped inside a mechanism that was built to keep you terrified. You are suffering from a perfectly engineered psychological prison, and it is called the one more year syndrome. It is that constant, nagging whisper telling you that if you just grind through 12 more months, you just save a little more, you will finally feel secure. But that security is a ghost. It vanishes the moment you reach for it. Your anxiety is not a personal failure. It is a feature of a rigged macroeconomic game. For decades, why? The financial industry and the government handed you a blueprint. They told you to build a massive, impenetrable dam to hold all the wealth you accumulated over a lifetime. You followed the instructions perfectly. You poured the concrete, you built the wall, and the water piled up. But the architects of that dam, Wall Street and the IRS, never told you that they installed microscopic, invisible pipes at the very bottom of your reservoir. You are terrified of a sudden market crash, breaching the wall. But the real monster is the quiet leakage. Your wealth is slowly evaporating through invisible tax traps, insidious inflation, and hidden fee structures designed to harvest your life's work the moment you stop producing a paycheck. The system treats you like a macroeconomic battery. You were designed to be charged up with capital over 40 years, only to be slowly and quietly drained by the system just when you thought you were free. They weaponized behavioral psychology against you. They trained your nervous system to release dopamine only when your account balance goes up. They conditioned you to view any withdrawal as a literal threat to your survival. Now, when it is finally time to live, you feel like you are cannibalizing your own savings every time you swipe your credit card. Lucky why? You have been programmed to leave your capital locked inside their machinery for as long as possible, because as long as your money sits there, Wall Street keeps skimming their percentage and the government lines up its massive future tax revenue. You think you are playing it safe. Lucky why? But the rules of accumulation that built your wealth are the exact same rules that will systematically destroy it during decumulation. You are navigating a minefield where the rules shift the closer you get to the exit. If you try to minimize your taxes today without a long-term strategy, lucky why? You are accidentally building a tax time bomb that will detonate the moment the government forces you to take the required minimum distribution. They will force that money out of your accounts, pushing your income over invisible thresholds. Cross that line by a single dollar and you can instantly trigger a $15,000 surge in Medicare surcharges. It is a phantom tax, legally stripping away your benefits while you are too busy checking your stock portfolio to notice. If you feel like you are standing on a fault line, terrified that one wrong move will erase a lifetime of sacrifice, we are going to fix your structure right now. Hit the subscribe button, because we are tearing up the old rule book and giving you the blueprint to get out of the trap. To escape this matrix, you must stop hoarding and start engineering your architecture. We need to pull 3 systemic levers to make you financially bulletproof. First, you must neutralize the forced income trap. We have to stop feeding the traditional tax-deferred accounts that give the government total control over our future tax rate. Second, we must build your cash shield. You do not protect yourself from market volatility by moving everything into bonds that get eaten alive by inflation. You do it by carving out exactly 2 years of living expenses in pure, untouchable cash. When the market bleeds, you do not care. You never have to sell a single share at a loss because your life is funded for the next 24 months. Third, you must master the healthcare cliff. We have to restructure your withdrawals so you do not accidentally trigger the invisible income cliff that will cost you thousands in lost subsidies. Structure beats balance every single time. Think back to that sinking feeling in your chest a few years ago. When the market started bleeding out, you watched your screen as a massive chunk of your life's work vanished in a matter of weeks. Panic set in. The financial media was screaming that the sky was falling, and you did exactly what human psychology wired you to do. When your survival feels threatened, you sold. You moved to cash to stop the bleeding, only to sit on the sidelines with a pit in your stomach, watching the market violently rebound without you. Or maybe your trap was quieter than that. Maybe it was the slow, insidious creep of your own lifestyle that kept the chains tight around your ankles. You took the promotion, you worked the grueling 60-hour weeks, and you sacrificed your health and your family dinners for a bigger paycheck. But somehow, at the end of every single month, the money just evaporated. The cars got a little newer, the neighborhood got a little safer, but your bank account never seemed to reflect the sheer amount of blood and sweat you were pouring into your career. You ran faster and faster on a treadmill that someone else was constantly speeding up. If you are nodding your head right now, you're lucky. Why? Carrying a heavy knot of guilt in your stomach because you feel like you should be further ahead. If you feel like you are behind schedule or like you just aren't wealthy enough, despite a lifetime of relentless grinding, I need you to drop that baggage right now. You are not financially incompetent. You are not lazy. You are simply playing a game where the house always wins. Because they never gave you the actual rulebook. They taught you how to be a compliant worker. They taught you how to be a perfect, obedient accumulator. But they never gave you the permission slip to actually live. You have been carrying a baseline level of financial anxiety for so long that you think it is just a normal part of getting older. It is not. Today, I am handing you that permission slip. You are allowed to stop feeling guilty for wanting to spend your own money. You do not have to hoard every penny for a catastrophic event that statistically will never happen. And you certainly do not need to leave a massive tax-burdened inheritance to a system that will just swallow it whole. Why? True wealth is not about having $5 million sitting in a brokerage account while your blood pressure is dangerously high. It is waking up on a Tuesday morning, looking out the window, and knowing that your time belongs entirely to you. It is having the flexibility to walk away when the corporate weather turns sour, or knowing that your structure protects your tomorrow. It is knowing that you have engineered a tax shield, a defined healthcare safety net, and a cash buffer that makes you financially bulletproof. But you will never achieve that level of absolute freedom if you keep playing by their rules. You have to systematically dismantle the tax traps and the fee-draining accounts that are keeping you tethered to the machine. Tonight, I want you to do exactly one single thing. Open up your 401k or your IRA portal. Look at how your money is actually structured and ask yourself if you are still blindly feeding the exact same traps you fell into 20 years ago. Identify your leak. That is your very first step to taking your life back. I do not make these videos for the Wall Street elite. I do not make them for people looking for a get-rich-quick crypto scheme or for the toxic hustle culture telling you to grind until you drop dead. I make these videos for the exhausted accumulators. I make them for the people who refuse to be pawns in a rigged economic game any longer. For those who are ready to wake up, take back their capital, and finally buy back their remaining time on this earth. If that is you, hit that subscribe button. Join this community of people who are permanently opting out of the matrix. Leave a comment below and tell me what is the very first thing you will do when you finally realize you have enough. I read every single one. Stop surviving. Start exiting.